Hi. Hello.
Assalamualaikum.
Everyone!
We are the
Group number 7.
Will be
presenting about
professional
Development.
In Malaysia.
In the previous presentations, we have all been introduced to professional development. We have all heard about integrity, about the transfer of knowledge in the workplace, as well as the type of leaders. But have you ever thought about professional development in the Malaysian context? Have you ever thought about the legal aspects of professional development in Malaysia? My name is Gilfera Luk, and today I am here to talk about the legal aspects of professional development, as well as how professional development is being adapted or being done in different sectors in Malaysia. Professional development in Malaysia is being legally recognized under the Act of 652, National Skills Development Act 2006. According to the International Labour Organization, this act was introduced to promote, through skills training, the development and improvement of a person's abilities which are needed for vocation. In other words, the skills and the trainings that are being provided are useful for each industry. If you are in the education sector, then you are going to be enrolled in professional development programs that are being accustomed to education, and same goes to other sectors. From Act 652, I have highlighted 5 key points. First, the National Occupation Skills Standard, or better known as NOSS. Second, accreditation of professional development trainers. Third, certification and recognition. Fourth, inspection of trainers. Fifth, offences and penalties. First key point is the National Occupation Skills Standards. The National Occupation Skills Standards is a uniform standard that is being used to design curriculum for all professional development trainings in Malaysia. That means we have a generalized standard that is being used for all sectors. The main features of the NOSS, or the National Occupation Skills Standards, are: first, it is based on occupation, so whatever the skills that will be taught or will be practiced in the training will be based on your occupation. For example, if you are a factory operator, so the skills that will be taught for you are going to be related to machines and SOPs of using the machines, and as well as the precautions in handling substances, for example. The second main feature of NOSS is that it is systematic and structural for each field of career. So that means for each level of career requires a different level of professional development. For example, if you are a manager, then you will require a different professional development training. And if you are a factory operator, you will require another different training. The third feature of NOSS is that it is prepared by professionals. Well, this is very logical because we don't want the syllabus or the curriculum of our professional development programs to be not valid just because it is not being prepared by those who are expert in it. Second is accreditation of professional development trainers. In order for you to be accredited as a professional development trainer, you have to fulfill the 3 requirements. First is the suitable curriculum. A suitable curriculum is a curriculum that is complying to the National Occupation Skills Standards. First, it has to be suitable with your career. Second, it has to be suited to the level of your career. And third, of course, the curriculum has to be developed by professionals. Now, second is that you have to have the access to facilities and technology. Now, what does it mean by facilities here? Facilities may include venues or infrastructures that are going to be used to conduct trainings. For example, you're going to use maybe your own building, or maybe you're going to rent building. But most importantly is that you have to have the access to conduct training in the facility. This becomes a more complicated, not issue, but a more complicated work when you are dealing with skills that require specific places for it to be, for the trainings to be conducted. For example, if you are in the healthcare sector, you may require the operation theatre, or also to a certain extent the medical ward. If you are conducting trainings for factory workers, then you may require the access to the factory itself, because you will need to use the machines and all that. And if you're conducting professional development trainings for teachers, then that's not going to be a complicated thing, because it can be conducted in many places. And you have to also have the access to technology. Now, technology may vary from digital to analog. For example, digital in healthcare sector, you have the digital blood pressure checker. You have to have the access to the ECG machine, and you have to. And for analog, you can have access to maybe in machines in factories. There are analog machines as well. For example, you have thermometers and you have pressure checker in factories that are actually analog. So regardless of the form of the technology, the most important thing is that you have to have the access to that, because if you don't have access to that, then your training is going to be only theoretical base. And then you have to have qualified instructor. So this is very common and very logical, but just to highlight this is that because it is being included in Act 652. Number 3. Certification and recognition of professional development trainers. If you are a trainer for professional development, you will need to be certified based on the requirements of the Malaysian Skills Certification System. Now, the first aspect of the certification system that you have to fulfill is that you have to receive training from a certified institution. Of course, this is very general, but we are grateful that this is being included in the Act, because if someone is not receiving trainings from a certified institution, then he or she is automatically not eligible, and therefore it reduces the risk of receiving trainings from unverified and unvalid trainers. Next is that you have to receive training that is related to the industry. So if you are training teachers, then you have to receive training in terms of education. And if you are training tour guides, then your training has to be based on tourism. And if you are training doctors, or if you are training nurses, then it has to be related to medics or health. Okay. And the third one is that you have to be able to demonstrate desired skills for accreditation purposes. Now, this has been covered in the previous point, but just to point this out is the validity of your position as a trainer is being defined by the skills that you actually demonstrate. This is a very good requirement, because if we only require people to actually have certificates, then that will be of no use, because I can have the certificate, but still I can have the certificate not legally, but actually buy it from someone. So it is best for us to put the requirement in the Act 652 for someone to be eligible to become the trainers, for them to be able to actually demonstrate the skills, so that it determines their validity as the trainers. Another important aspect of Act 652 is the inspection of trainers. The inspection of trainers has to be done continuously to ensure compliance towards the law. If you go to factories, you will find out that there are officers who are in charge of quality control. They will determine whether the products that have been produced are good to go to the market. The same concept is applied to professional development. Inspection allows the government to control the quality of human capitals in the form of professional trainers. Instead of inspecting the quality of the products, the inspection of trainers control the quality of human capital. And the final key point that I would like to highlight on Act 652 is offences and penalty. Failing to comply to all the requirements may result into being penalized up to 10,000 ringgit. This means that transgressing against all the requirements that have been enlisted in the Act is a serious offence. Other than that, this penalty helps to safeguard the welfare of the people who are enrolled in the trainings. Malaysia is a prosperous country. We are one of the economic powers in Southeast Asia. Economic activities are flourishing in this country, and we have different occupation sectors in Malaysia, and I have a list of them here. We have agriculture, manufacturing, ICT, healthcare, finance, tourism, oil and gas, education, as well as aviation. The healthcare sector is undoubtedly the most important and the most prominent sector in 2020, because we are actually dealing with the pandemic. Now, a review of Malaysian healthcare system by the World Health Organization pointed out that professional development in the healthcare sector in Malaysia is continuous. That means it is never stopping until the day that you stop working. Now, this applies mostly to nurses and doctors. In other words, medical staffs. Next is that professional development is mandatory for all staffs of the Ministry of Education. So this is not restricted to doctors and nurses. This is also restricted to staffs from maybe the human resource, finance, and all that. In some private sectors, in some private healthcare sectors, yearly meritocracy is also required to renew your medical license. So without without trainings and without merit from professional development trainings, you may not be able to renew your medical license, and therefore that will result into you not being able to practice practice in hospitals or clinics in the next year. The next important sector that I like to highlight is the oil and gas industry. Now, professional development in the oil and gas industry mainly focuses on safety courses. Oil and gas industry requires workers to be offshore, and sometimes require them to be in places that are high risk. So sometimes they will be handling heavy machines and highly reactive substances, and also sometimes in natural gas industry they will have to handle machines that have high pressures. So it is very, very, very important for them to actually be trained in handling these things. Safety is one of the most important factor in this industry, because if safety is not being taken into account, then we are actually putting not just our lives but the lives of other people at risk. So safety is one of the most important aspect of the oil and gas industry. So thus professional development in safety is actually being put on high emphasis. And most of the time, the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH as people call it, they provide courses such as Safety and Health Officer course, Basic Occupational First Aid, Occupational Safety and Health Coordinator. So those are the courses that they provide with regards to safety. There are several conclusions that we can draw out of the 2 points that I have presented just now. First is on professional development in Malaysia. Professional development in Malaysia is recognized by the law. This is evident with the enforcement of Act 652. It is also being safeguarded by the law. With the presence of the law, training providers need to comply with numerous rules and requirements. Another conclusion that we can draw out is that professional development in different sectors are required to fulfill requirements of the National Occupation Skill Standard, meaning to say that professional development in Malaysia has the same basis for all. This is a strength that we have in Malaysia, because with the same basis for all, it is good for nation building. If you realize, I have not touched on education, but we are not missing that out, because my friend Nur Ali Fitri will continue with the presentation on professional development in Malaysia for teachers.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good day, happy to Dr. Fatin and to all my fellow classmates. So my name is Ahmad Ali Fitri bin Badruddin, and I will continue our group presentation by presenting about professional development for teachers. So professional development includes any activities in which a teacher participates with the goal of improving teacher practice and or student achievement under the guidance and or approval of the school and or school system in which he or she is employed by Code 2015. So now I want to highlight a few keywords here, which is improving teachers' practice and also student achievement and also the approval of the school. So here, professional development is an activity that teacher will participate in order to improve their teaching, so that in order to improve their teaching and also their student achievement, and with the approval of the school or the school system in which the teacher itself is employed. So in Malaysia, we have a module called Malaysia Education Blueprint (MEB) 2013 to 2025. So it serves as a guidelines for teachers to improve their professional development, and also it serves as a guideline for educator and teacher in general. So the government come up with this blueprint from 2013 up until 2025 that we will use as educators and also as teachers in our profession. So in the blueprint, it stated our national education philosophy, which is education is a means for holistic development for all children. So what is holistic? Holistic means as a whole. So it is a development of their intellect, the development of their spiritual, their emotion, and also their physical. So therefore, in National Education Blueprint, it's stated in the blueprint 11 shifts to transform the system, the education system in our country, which in our context, the fourth shift is about transform teaching into profession of choice. And under the fourth shift, under the transform teaching into profession of choice is one of the points stated that upgrading the quality of continuous profession development, or CPD. So what is CPD? CPD is used in order to unlock teachers' full potential. So in order to unlock it, a teacher will undergo an enhanced CPD that will be mandatory for all teachers, and the teacher education division, which is Bahagian Pendidikan Guru, will be responsible to provide the CPD. So there we the Bahagian Pendidikan Guru, the teacher education division, will oversee the CPD. So one of the most common CPD that we know is LADAP, which is latihan dalam perkhidmatan, in service training. So other than Bahagian Pendidikan Guru, the teacher education division, there's one more unit under Minister of Education, which is Education Performance and Delivery Unit, PADU. So PADU here, their primary roles is to facilitate, to support, and to deliver Ministry of Education vision in transforming our education system using or through Malaysian education blueprint. So here we can see a few initiatives that were taken that were taken by PADU, which is implementing Teacher Carta, Ethical Guru Malaysia, Standard Guru Malaysia, and etc. So you can find all this in their official website. Their initiative in facilitate, in support, and also in delivering MOE, Minister of Education, vision of transforming our education system. Now, next I will move to my second topic, which is, does professional development for teachers related to achieving any specific national aspiration? So national aspiration in the MEB, the Malaysian Education Blueprint, it has stated 11 aspiration, which has been divided into two groups, which is five in system aspiration and also 6 in students aspiration. So in the system aspiration, the first one is assess, the second one is quality, the third one is equality, the fourth one is unity, and the fifth one is efficiency. So in the student aspiration context, is first one is knowledge, second one is bilingual proficiency, the third one is thinking skills, fourth one is ethic and spirituality, fifth one is leadership, and the last one is national identity. So does professional development for teachers related to achieving any of these specific national aspiration? So let us see if it is related to any of the national aspiration. So if we look at the second aspiration, quality the second aspiration, which is quality, in 2019, one of the primary initiatives is to strengthen English language, which we can see in their website here, the PADU website, which is the primary initiative here. One of the initiative is strengthening English language education. So English language education. So does professional development for teachers related to achieving the national aspiration. And we can see here in laporan tahunan 2019-2019 pengukuhan bahasa Inggeris in MOE website, we can see that the achievement for SPM in this paper has improved from 2018 to 2019 from 79.4% to 80.5% in 2019. So in a way, it does related to achieving the national aspiration. So back to my point, does professional development for teachers related to achieving national aspiration? Yes, to an extent. It depends on the teacher itself. So if the teachers are willing to develop, to improve themselves, just like what professional development's definition that I gave you earlier, if they're willing to improve themselves for improve their teacher practice and also improve their students' achievement, I would say yes, they are related. They are related in achieving our national aspiration. So that's all for me. I will pass my presentation to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, so I will be presenting on the implementation of professional development programs in Malaysian Education Ministry. The implementation of professional development programs done by the Ministry of Education are pre-service training as well as revamping the IPG and teacher training. The first one is pre-service training and ongoing professional development. So in 2007, the ministry raised the minimum pre-service training qualification from a diploma to a bachelor's degree for primary teachers in line with the existing practice for secondary school teachers. So by 2010, 30% of primary school teachers had a bachelor degree. Next, due to the Malaysia's pre-service program, trainees are able to practice their skills in schools under the guidance and supervision of an experienced teacher. Next is revamping the IPG and teacher training. Firstly is strengthening the pipeline of teacher trainee recruits. The ministry will adopt a holistic approach to the recruitment of new teachers. Because of this, it will encourage applications from diverse academic as well as ethnic backgrounds. IPG will also offer different programs in order to cater to candidates with various experience levels. The next program, which was done by the Ministry of Education, was to enhance the IPG curriculum. The ministry will increase the percentage of time spent by teacher trainees on practicum training to 40%. Not only that, experienced teachers who are qualified mentors will supervise the trainees in the classroom environment in order to enhance consistency and quality of their practicum. Not only that, the ministry intends to include leadership as well as management skills in the IPG curriculum. Moving on, in line with the 2011 World Bank Review, the ministry will explore ways in order to provide trainees with a broader set of skills to make their degrees more universally marketable. The ministry also wishes to adapt the IPG curriculum to the needs of different school contexts, such as the rural-urban settings. The next one is improving the leadership in IPG. Leadership in IPG includes the directors at IPG campuses as well as IPGM. Their capabilities as instructional and organizational leader will be raised in order for them to act as point of reference and change agents to lecturers teacher trainees and officers in IPG. Next is raising lecturer quality. The ministry will move towards enhancing the selection criteria for IPG lecturers to hold a master's or PhD. New and existing lecturers will be upskilled through a lecturer induction training program, which was in line with the recommendation from the 2011 World Bank. The ministry encouraged IPG lecturers to further their expertise and divide their time between teaching, research, and publication. The fifth one is increasing research and innovation activities. Pedagogy skills will be promoted among lecturers, teacher trainees, and staff in IPG. Examples of pedagogy skills are skills in conducting research, presenting papers, academic writing, and inculcating creativity and innovation. Lastly, is to raise the profile of IPG. The ministry wants IPG to be internationally accredited by 2020. One of the ways is to forge international partnerships with other world-class institutions as well as universities. Another subtopic which will be covered is professional development issues among teachers, and I will be presenting on the first 4 issues, and Gibson Michael will continue with the last 3 issues. Now, let's look at the first issue. The first issue is towards achieving the target of qualified graduate teachers. Teachers were encouraged to upgrade their teaching qualifications so that they are able to teach effectively, which was done through distant education and in-service training in local or foreign universities. The government faces challenges in ensuring all graduate teachers are quality teachers and are able to deliver the curriculum effectively. Not only that, the government agencies also faces difficulties in administering frequent monitoring through supervision to graduate teachers. A question arises whether there is a sufficient internet access, especially in remote areas such as Sabah and Sarawak, as it would incur a higher cost, which is one of the constraints faced by graduate teachers as well. The next issue is effective integration of ICT. Teachers need longer hours of training in order to be able to acquire a high level of competency of ICT. Now, although ICT is part of the curriculum, Tang et al. 2010 reported that teachers may have lacked confidence when it comes to integrating ICT into their teaching. The third issue is allocation of time for teachers' professional development. Teachers are often burdened with endless duties and chores besides their main task, which is teaching. According to Hague 1996, experts and policymakers have stated that the greatest challenge in implementing an effective professional development is the lack of time. Which brings me to my next point. Teachers highlighted that due to the lack of time, it hinders them in using their tools efficiently, which ultimately impact their professional development. The last issue for my part is addressing the gap. There is still a gap of achievement among students, especially in subjects such as mathematics, science, and English, despite the efforts done by teachers. Not only that, there is still a lack of specialized teachers in rural areas, which should be addressed quickly in order to overcome this problem. That is all for my part, and the next will be Gibson Michael.
Hello everyone, my name is Gibson Michael and I will be continuing on professional development issues among teachers in Malaysia. Now, for my part, the first challenge for Malaysian Ministry of Education is the issue to improve the quality of preschool teachers and teacher assistants. Malaysian education system aim to achieve the aspiration of NKRA. NKRA stands for National Key Results Area. Education is part of NKRA. In order to widen the access to quality education, there are 4 sub-NKRA under education. The first sub-NKRA is preschool, in which the enrollment of children at the age of 4 and 5 was expected to increase. The private preschool and other agencies share the same aspiration and somehow become part of the national education system by promoting the enrollment of young learners into preschool. Second sub-NKRA is literacy and numeracy, also known as LINUS. For LINUS, the students were expected to master basic literacy and numeracy skills. Before entering primary school, each student needs to have basic skills to read and count. Number 3 is high performance school. High performance schools were established to cater the students with potential for them to maximize their ability to the fullest by providing necessary assistance to the student. Under the 4th sub-NKRA, the principals and headmasters were evaluated based on their performance. If the principals or headmaster performed well in managing the school, they were rewarded based on their achievement. Next issue is overcoming the numeracy and literacy problem. As I explained earlier, literacy and numeracy is included in education sub-NKRA, also known as LINUS. The government trained the teachers to be expert in teaching numeracy and literacy in a short period. After the short period training, the ministry was challenged to monitor the teachers' ability to implement the knowledge in their teaching at the school. Of course, the teachers were expected to be confident to conduct LINUS screening program. According to the program, a teacher needed to conduct 3 screening processes in March, June and September to evaluate the students' performance. After the screening process, the students will be placed either under LINUS program or special education if necessary. So this is basically for those students who have problem in learning to read or learning basic mathematics. In Malaysia, Malay language is the national language and English is learned as a second language. But both languages are important as they are used widely in Malaysian education system. However, English language serves more as it gives access to relevant scientific materials and journals. Today, the teachers are teaching online because of the pandemic. As student teachers, we all experience the same thing, and we know that technology-based teaching and learning are mostly in English. The ability to use English language among the teachers somehow contributes to the successful ICT-based teaching and learning. In Malaysia, the Ministry of Education puts on efforts to improve English language proficiency even among the teacher educators and teachers themselves. It is an ongoing effort. Learning English is not only for the students, but it is also we can say that it is for everyone in Malaysian education system. There are 3 issues altogether, which include the challenge for the Ministry of Education Malaysia to improve the quality of preschool teachers and teacher assistants, overcoming the literacy and numeracy problem among Malaysian students, and also improving English language proficiency among the members of Malaysian education system. In short, our government was taking the best initiative to reduce the number of illiterate among Malaysians by improving the quality of basic education for students at the age of 4 or 5. As I presented earlier, at the preschool level, the government focused on the teachers and teacher assistants. For primary school teachers, they were required to be trained in order to conduct Linus screening program for the students who had problem in learning. The result then used to decide necessary changes in learning for the students based on their needs. For example, as I stated just now, by assigning them to Linus program or special education for students with learning disability. Literacy and numeracy are crucial because it is required in every level of education and also in workplace setting. English language is unique as it connects people around the globe. The language has its own value in education. In my opinion, everyone in Malaysian education system needs to play their roles in promoting the use of English language. For instance, it is best for the teachers and the students to normalize the use of English language in school setting. That way, the proficiency level can easily be indicated and necessary action can be taken for improvement. Now, I will talk a little bit more about the effectiveness of the professional development programs among Malaysian teachers in achieving the aspiration of educational NKRA. The government built more preschool around the country, including in the rural areas. The goal was for all children at the age of 4 and 5 to have equal opportunity to get early education. Despite all the issues and challenges, Malaysian Ministry of Education witnessed a raise the nation's preschool enrollment rate to 77.2% and literacy and numeracy rates to 97.5% and 98.6% respectively. To keep track of the students' performance, a national preschool information system is developed. The government never stopped in finding the best way to improve the quality of Malaysian education system. Students with learning disabilities never received proper education before the existence of Linus screening program. More than 3,000 children were identified as students with special needs. Therefore, it is concluded that the Malaysian professional development among Malaysian teachers are effective. The quality of Malaysian education keep on increasing year after year as the result of improvement after improvement made by the government. That is all from me. I hope you enjoy my presentation and thank you for watching.
Assalamualaikum and good day to Dr. Fatin Aliana and to my fellow classmates. And I am Nurul Anshafiqah, and today I will be presenting on the topic of Islamic perspectives in professional development. So there are several concepts related to training in Islam, namely the concept of itqan, the concept of al-falah, and the concept of ihsan. So according to Al-Talib 1991, asserted that Islamic training and development is all-encasing, beginning from the moral, spiritual development of man and manifested eventually into physical development. So training and development also should be conducted to increase the faith in God. Islam proposes training and development to enhance knowledge and skills of workers to increase levels. The knowledge emphasized in Islam includes the general knowledge that can improve both faith and religious practices of man. So the first concept that will be discussed further is the concept of itqan. So the concept of itqan is the principle that human demands to implement a work by vigorously. According to Branny and Pollard 2006, consciousness of self-improvement refers to the ongoing struggle with oneself for self-betterment in efforts to accomplish better work. So this concept used to indicate the highest level of quality work and the correct and complete performance of duties. It is also related with arranging and the best ways that yields perfect result. With the concept of itqan, the employee will work with quality and has a special spiritual flavor because of its association with Allah. Islam emphasizes the concept of itqan, and Allah say in the Holy Quran, "Do deeds, Allah will see your deeds, and so will His Messenger and the believers, and you will be brought back, the All-Knower unseen and the sinned. Then He will inform you of what you used to do." In other words, Allah is pleased with a person who performs a deed. He executes it with excellence, meaning that it also refers to the behavior of being careful, meticulous, diligent, and excellent in carrying out the task. It is important for the organization to educate employees to work vehemently. Working diligently reflects the perfection of faith and piety, sincerity, and moral virtues, in which all of these properties will be calculated as the worship of Allah. Moving on to another concept, which is the concept of al-falah. So al-falah as a dimension carrier in Islam among the employee, and how the employee accomplishes success needs to be aligned with the Islamic teaching. So the latter contend that this virtue linked to a state passion for excellence and perfection. Because of these values, the desire to excel in personal and professional matter constitutes an ideal for Muslim. So this implies that workers are required to always do better and improve the quality of their contribution and work outcomes by means to learn new skills and acquiring new knowledge. According to Shuhairimi Abdullah 2011, he describes that the concepts of al-falah reflects upon the individuals who apply entrepreneur practices based on religious awareness containing of these three important components, which includes akidah, religious belief system, sharia, and akhlaq, meaning that good moral. So the concepts of al-falah is indicated in Al-Quran in Surah Al-Mu'minun. This surah highlighted 7 characteristics of those who attain to success. That to develop the success, employee in the organization needs to practice them and emphasize to follow the 7 characteristics that were highlighted in this surah. So these are the characteristics that have been highlighted by this surah. So successful indeed are the believers, those who offer their salat, prayer with solemnity and complete submissiveness, and those who turn away from al-lagha, dirty, false, evil vain talk, falsehood, and all that Allah forbidden, and they who are observant of zakah, and they who are guard their private parts, except from their wives or their right hands process, for indeed they will not be blamed. But whoever seeks beyond that, then those are transgressors, and they who are to their trusts and their promises attentive, and they who carefully maintain their prayers, those are the inheritors who will inherit al-Firdaus. They will abide therein eternally. So each of worship has certain procedure, and they must be obeyed. For example, in the context of prayer, ablution is the conditions that must be carried out so that its worship is valid, and ablution was not considered valid unless that was done in orderly manner, meaning tertib. So through this ibadah also, the employee can be educated about the importance of reason and knowledge in their life. Therefore, it can be summarized that in this concept is focused on the Muslim employee in conducting their job activities with Islamic values, and also being responsible in fulfill the religiosity obligation in obtaining succeed in the world and in the hereafter. Moving on to the next concept, which is the concept of ihsan. The concept of ihsan in the Islamic emphasizes that occupation and spiritual obligations are congruent with each other. Hence, as the well-being of employees is inextricably linked to the well-being of employers, human resource policies and practices have to be based on the principles of transparency, accountability, sincerity, and justice. The concept of ihsan is one of perfecting attitude and deed, which the employee will perform its duties better by knowledge, skills, creativity, and the ability of workers. So, ihsan in the following hadith: verily God has enjoined goodness to everything. So when you kill in a good way. And when you slaughter, then slaughter in a good way. So every one of you should sharpen his knife and let the slaughtered animal die comfortably. That means every employee should apply the ihsan in their daily life and work practices in order to receive Allah rewards and acceptance. Because of that, ihsan is a must. It must be the spirit of every Muslim in performing tasks and work, whether in relation with God or with fellow human beings, so that their work will always be worth worship and benefit to the community. So next, training based on Islam education dimension, or known as ta'deeb. Education as the main role in life because it gives the people the skills and tools they need to navigate the world. So with education, humans develop their skills, increase their productivity, and rise up ethical value. According to Hisham 2010, education transmits values and the legacy of a given society from one generation to another. So the Islamic educational system is to teach learners both worldly and heavenly knowledge and to assist them to becoming the good members of their family, society, and humanity as a whole. Thus, to get a successful employee starts with the knowledge and understanding. In other words, it starts with the mind. So the right mind set to produce the correct way to think and will produce something of quality. Within the Islamic perspective of education, the basic dimension according to Syed Muhammad Naqib Al-Atas is ta'deeb. So ta'deeb comes from the root word of adab. Adab is a concept he used by Al-Atas, who in reality is the core education and the educational process. Adab was an attempt to discipline the human being, including discipline of mind, mental discipline, and disciplinary body. So this discipline refers to the recognition of the place, position, and condition in life is right and proper, and self-discipline when participating actively and voluntarily in accordance with the recognition. So according to Al-Atas, through the concept of ta'deeb, it will lead to the concept of ta'zim, realization of the greatness of Islam. And from ta'zim, it will lead to ta'mir, the will to give themselves with all their heart and soul to Islam. In the view of Islam, humans are the central goals of teaching, an educational process of human being to his God, and the relation between human and nature. This concept is necessary and must be developed, because if it is missing, there will be disintegration and chaos in the lives of individuals and organizations. That's all from me, and next we will be continuing with the socio-cultural perspectives on professional development.
Good day everyone, I'm Tertia Everil and I will be presenting on socio-cultural perspectives on professional development. Numerous researches and theories have focused on improving the academic success of students who are at risk for failure due to poverty, limited English proficiency, and lack of background knowledge and experiences which are not up to par with school expectations. Rather than focusing on student deficits, researchers have focused on ways that schools can scaffold learning, build student characteristics as resources, and mitigate risk factors. The Center for Research on Education, Diversity and Excellence has synthesized this work with 5 standards for effective professional development activities from socio-cultural perspectives: joint productive activity, language and literacy development, contextualization, teaching complex thinking, and teaching through conversation. I will discuss the 5 standards in terms of socio-cultural theory and explain how each standard can support the learning process underlying professional development efforts. One distinctive feature of socio-cultural theory is the view that teaching and learning are social, not individual activities. According to Rogoff, Tarp, and Gallimore, learning takes place when novices and experts work together to solve a common problem. A socio-cultural model for professional development therefore involves assisted performance by a more competent other. Language and discourse are a critical part of the professional development process. A fundamental premise of sociocultural theory is that language is an important tool which helps mediate interaction with the world. Professional development should not involve jargon if it does not contribute to meaningful problem solving. The teachers, they need to understand students' discourse and vice versa. Another premise of sociocultural theory is that teaching and learning must be contextualized and connected as well as related to real-life situations. This means that teaching and learning activities should focus on authentic issues and problems encountered in students' everyday life. This approach fosters confidence in students as they can connect new knowledge with previous ones. It also increases their engagement with the activities. In line with Vygotsky's ZPD theory, students need to be challenged with materials or activities that are slightly above their level in order for meaningful learning to take place. This is also to enable them to develop personally as well as professionally. It is of teachers' responsibility in getting the correct balance and providing appropriate assistance to students without interfering students' acquisition of the target knowledge. This approach can stimulate as well as enhance students' critical thinking skills. Instructional conversations are useful for creating responsive learning environments and should be utilized in professional development activities. Thinking and the abilities to form, express, and exchange ideas are best taught through dialogues, through questioning and sharing ideas and knowledge. In an important sense, this is at the heart of professional development, which is connecting classroom culture and knowledge with more formal knowledge and theory around collaborative problem solving, that is, joint productive activity. That is all for the socio-cultural perspectives on professional development, and next we will be continuing with Western perspectives focusing on Finland.
Assalamualaikum and greetings. My name is Nur Atina Natasha and I'll be presenting another different perspective on professional development. Now, we are looking at a teacher's professional development from the Western perspective, a European country, Finland. Many researchers believe that professional development is a series of processes that occur when teachers are already in school, but not the finish. They believe that the foundation of lifelong learning is created during the training of trainee teachers and should be supported until retirement. Hence, the existence of the three-phase model to support a teacher's professional development. This model consists of 3 stages, which are: the first one, the pre-service teacher education for preparation and mastering basic knowledge and skills. The second stage, the induction phase, is the first independent steps as teachers and the first years of confrontation with the reality to be a teacher in school. And the last stage, the in-service teacher education, is the phase of the continuing professional development of those teachers that have overcome the initial challenges of becoming a teacher. From this model, I can see that they value continuum. They believe that teachers can grow better with a reliable support system. Besides, this continuum supports and contributes to teachers' career-long development. One of their efforts in being supportive is through a personal mentoring project. They believe newly qualified teachers did not need support in basic pedagogical and curricular issues, but they did need support for collaboration and especially for cooperation with parents. For example, how to work with parents in conflict situations and how to work in multicultural schools. Most universities have education centers for teachers in service training. It is important that research-based and research-informed orientation of pre-service teacher education continues, and teachers can learn the most up-to-date and advanced knowledge of their subject matters as well as pedagogy. The aim is for teachers to internalize a research-oriented attitude toward their work, for teachers to take an analytical and open-minded approach to their work so that they can develop teaching and learning environments in a systematic way. Also, develop their own professional growth and well-being. A professional teacher in Finland is supposed to have a versatile knowledge base, allowing him or her to act as an autonomous professional. The term knowledge is interpreted broadly in this context and is close in meaning to competence or skill. The Innovative School Community ISC is a holistic model of a school environment that supports the learning and teaching of skills for the 21st century in local schools by applying new technology for cooperation. The project wanted to promote personalized learning with mobiles and homeschool collaboration and connect students with surrounding neighborhoods such as elderly homes, kindergartens, and libraries through new tools such as mobiles and iPads. Teachers work as researchers and with researchers through several cycles trying to create a new collaborative culture. They believe that school development and teachers' professional development should go hand in hand. According to NIMI, the Finnish educational policy has been an exception when compared with other high-performing countries, especially Asian countries, as Finnish education does not include national standardized testing. When teachers are not consumed with the pressure of standardized testing, they have the freedom to take care of student learning, and they can use various teaching and assessment methods depending on the student's needs. The purpose of assessments and evaluations are to improve learning and education. This principle is applied at both macro and micro levels of Finnish educational system. Competition and rankings hardly exist in Finnish education. Firstly, tiredness. She felt overwhelmed with the workload and was always in confusion due to adjusting to the new rules. It was a different teaching environment, one in which she feels like she's always under a microscope. She's adjusting to relatively frequent observation and evaluations of her teaching, something she never experienced in her home country. She explained that a principal or an administrator in Finland usually briefly observe a teacher's lesson, but not on a regular basis. Secondly, demotivated. Chartuni misses the feeling of being trusted as a professional in Finland. There, after receiving her teaching timetable at the start of each school year, she would be given the freedom to prepare curriculum-aligned lessons, which match her preferences and teaching style. I wanted to do my best all the time, she said, because they trusted my skills and abilities. She started to develop this mundane feeling toward teaching. Thirdly, reduce professional freedom. As a public school educator in
Tennessee,
Chartuni is seeing how some accountability measures, ones that are unobserved in Finnish schools, have reduced her level of professional freedom. For example, she and her US colleagues must refer to rubrics and lesson plan templates to prepare effective lessons. She said, everything needs to be written down. She recognized that it is a great habit, but she is used to her own routine, in which she crafts a brief plan and then makes sensible adjustment during a class period. Most US public school teachers report a moderate amount of control in the classroom. Many say they have little autonomy. In general, they reported that they have the least amount of control over these two particular areas of teaching. No wonder Finland has the best education system in the world. To conclude, I've learned that in developing professional development, as a teacher, we need a good support system, have professional freedom in teaching, embrace the power of we instead of I, involve in networking and partnerships, avoid extrinsic motivation, and work in a healthy environment. That will be all from me. Thank you for watching. Bye!